You're standing in a room full of people. No one is paying attention to you. Then out of nowhere you feel it. That unmistakable prickling on the back of your neck. Someone is watching you. You turn around and sure enough, a pair of eyes is locked directly onto yours. And for just a moment, your brain completely freezes. Your thoughts scatter, your words evaporate, and something ancient wakes up deep inside you. Why does that happen? Why can a single gaze from a stranger reach across a room and hijack your entire nervous system? The answer goes much deeper than awkwardness. It reaches into the very architecture of how your brain was built. Here's the first thing that should surprise you. Your brain doesn't wait for you to consciously notice a stare. It detects it automatically, before you even realize it's happening. We're talking about processing that starts within milliseconds, faster than you can blink, faster than a single heartbeat. Your brain has entire neural networks built specifically for one job: figuring out exactly where someone else is looking, not what they look like, not what they're wearing, just their gaze direction. Think about that. Out of everything your brain could have specialized in, it devoted serious real estate to tracking eyes. That's not an accident. And the way your brain does it is surprisingly elegant. First, within about 20 milliseconds of seeing another person, your brain picks up the broad strokes, the orientation of their head. Are they facing you? Facing away? That rough signal arrives almost instantly, like a first draft. Then, about 140 milliseconds in, the finer detail kicks in, the specific direction of the eyes themselves. Your brain is essentially running two passes, a quick rough scan, then a precise confirmation. By the time you consciously think they're looking at me, your brain has already processed that fact, evaluated it, and started preparing a response. So which parts of your brain are doing all this work? Two regions stand out. The first is the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure buried deep in your brain that acts like a threat detector. The second is the superior temporal sulcus, a groove that runs along the side of your brain and specializes in reading social signals from other people's bodies and faces. When someone makes direct eye contact with you, both of these regions light up. The amygdala raises the alarm. The superior temporal sulcus starts decoding what the eye contact might mean. Is this person a threat? A friend? A rival? Do they want something from me? All of that happens below the surface of your awareness in fractions of a second. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just a human thing. The fear response triggered by a direct stare has evolved across social animals. Wolves do it, primates do it, even dogs understand sustained eye contact as a form of pressure or challenge. Across the animal kingdom, staring is a form of communication, and often it means, I see you, I am evaluating you, you should be ready. That ancient circuitry still runs in your brain today. When a stranger holds your gaze a beat too long, a part of your brain that predates language, predates civilization, quietly fires off a warning signal. Something is happening. You've probably felt this in everyday life. Maybe you were sitting on a bus, reading, completely relaxed, and then someone across the aisle stared at you just a few seconds too long. You didn't hear anything, nothing moved, but some part of your brain registered it like a tripwire being crossed. That sensation isn't paranoia. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Sustained eye contact raises your arousal level, not in a metaphorical sense, but in a measurable physiological sense. Your heart rate shifts, your attention narrows, your body quietly prepares for something, even if nothing is actually wrong. The eyes of a stranger carry weight that their words never could. Now here's the twist that reframes everything. The same system that makes a stranger stare feel threatening is the very same system that makes eye contact between loved ones feel profoundly connecting. From the moment you were born, your brain started calibrating itself through gaze. Babies as young as a few hours old show a preference for faces with direct eye contact over faces looking away. Eye contact between a parent and a child is one of the earliest forms of communication. Before words, before gesture, before anything else. Your brain learned very early that eyes carry meaning. This dual nature of eye contact is one of the most fascinating things about it. The same stare that triggers your threat response when it comes from a stranger can deepen trust, signal honesty, and even increase feelings of connection when it comes from someone you're close to. Research has found that eye contact activates brain regions tied to social cognition and emotional processing. When two people hold each other's gaze, something real happens neurologically. It's not just a social convention. The eye contact itself is doing cognitive work, transmitting information, building a shared moment. A look really can say what words cannot. So why do so many people freeze when they're put on the spot? When eyes turn toward them, rather than away. Think about the last time you had to speak in front of a group. The moment all those gazes converged on you, something shifted. Your mind, which was working fine a moment ago, suddenly felt like a browser with too many tabs open. That's not weakness. That's your amygdala registering multiple threat signals at once. Multiple gazes means multiple evaluations, multiple judgments. Your brain, running its ancient social software, treats that scenario with enormous seriousness. Because for much of human history, being judged by the group really did matter for survival. For most people, the freeze is momentary. You recover, you adapt. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of your brain, steps in and says, "Relax. This is fine. No one is actually hunting you." But for some people, that override never fully kicks in. The fear of being watched doesn't fade. It grows. And it has a name. Scopophobia, from the Greek word skopein, meaning to look, is a persistent, excessive fear of being watched or stared at. It's classified as a specific phobia, meaning it's not just shyness or social anxiety, but a deeply ingrained fear response that becomes activated in situations where someone might become the center of attention. For people living with scopophobia, everyday situations that most of us move through without a second thought, walking into a restaurant, entering a classroom, simply existing in public, become a source of overwhelming dread. The stare that gives most of us a momentary jolt becomes something they organize their entire lives around avoiding. People with scopophobia often go to extraordinary lengths to avoid any situation where they might be watched. Public spaces, social gatherings, even walking down a busy street can feel unbearable. The isolation that results is real and serious, because the brain's gaze detection system never turns off. Even anticipating that someone might stare is enough to trigger the response. The trap is that avoidance makes it worse. Every time you escape a feared situation, your brain logs, "That was dangerous, and I survived by leaving." The threat circuitry gets reinforced rather than corrected. What's remarkable is how much modern neuroscience has confirmed what we intuitively knew. The brain doesn't just passively receive visual input when it sees eyes. It actively constructs a model of another mind. When you look at someone's eyes, your brain is asking, what do they know? What do they want? What do they see? This is what researchers call social cognition, the ability to infer the mental states of others. And gaze direction is one of the most powerful inputs that system runs on. Entire dedicated neural networks exist purely to decode where someone else is looking, because knowing that has always been critical information for any social creature. There's something almost paradoxical about all of this. We live in an era of constant digital communication, texts, posts, voice messages, videos, and yet the one thing that no screen has ever fully replicated is a direct gaze. Not a photo of eyes, not a video of someone looking vaguely toward a camera, a real, live, mutual gaze. Your brain knows the difference. It responds to genuine eye contact in ways it doesn't respond to even the most sophisticated digital substitutes. After thousands of years of evolution, two people looking directly at each other is still one of the most neurologically loaded events that can happen between human beings. And this brings us back to that moment on the subway, or in the classroom, or across the room, when someone's eyes found yours and your brain went quiet for just a second. That pause wasn't a malfunction. It was your ancient social machinery doing a rapid, incredibly sophisticated calculation. Who is this person? What do they want? Am I safe? Are they a threat or an ally? It ran that whole sequence. The head orientation scan, the precise eye read, the amygdala alert, the social cognition query, all before your conscious mind had finished forming the thought, "They're looking at me." The same system that once helped your ancestors navigate a world full of social rivals and predators now helps you read a room at a party, know when a friend is upset before they say a word, feel seen when someone truly looks at you, and feel unsettled when something about a stare doesn't quite fit. It is, in a very real sense, one of the core tools of what makes you human. The architecture of your social brain was built around eyes, because eyes, more than anything else, are where the information lives. So, next time you feel that freeze, that split-second shutdown when a gaze lands on you, take a breath and notice it for what it is. Not weakness, not awkwardness. It's millions of years of social evolution firing exactly on cue. Your brain treating another person's attention as the serious, meaningful, ancient signal that it is. You are never going to just casually shrug off a direct stare. Which leaves one last question worth sitting with. If your brain is this sophisticated, this precisely tuned to pick up and respond to another person's gaze, what does it mean that so many of us now spend whole days barely making eye contact with anyone at all? What happens to a brain that was wired for real gazes, living in a world of screens? That's a question science is only beginning to ask. And if you want to explore what happens to your brain when it's cut off from the social signals it was designed for, there's a video waiting for you that goes somewhere you might not expect.